Hey everybody, Logan Alex CPA here from Choice Tax Relief. Today I'm responding to a comment on my video about how to file back tax returns. You can see a link to that video here at the top of the screen. And on that video, Private Citizen 1246 says, actually, if you don't file 1 year, the IRS will not allow you to file again. Ask me how I know, LOL. Was told by a CPA that the IRS files a tax return for you in case, so it doesn't matter. I just always pay extra. Haven't filed since 2017 and have never gotten a notice from the IRS. Probably will never file again unless it affects my Social Security in a decade when I retire. So let's go through this sentence by sentence. First claim, if you don't file 1 year, the IRS will not allow you to file again. That's not true. We've done thousands of tax returns for folks who have gotten behind on filing their return for 1 year or for multiple years. And, the IRS will allow them to file the latest tax year. No problem. They want them to get caught up, right, on however many tax returns they need to get back in compliance. But the IRS is not going to not allow you to file again. That's not a thing. You were told by a CPA that the IRS files a tax return for you in any case, so it doesn't matter. Well, yeah, we've talked about this many times here on the channel. The IRS does prepare what are called substitutes for returns, SFRs. Link to my whole video on SFRs here at the top of the screen. Against certain taxpayers, there's this automated substitute for return program. It's basically a big computer that uses all of the third-party information that was reported to the IRS for a given taxpayer, things like 1099s, W-2s, K-1s, things like that, and basically prepares a substitute tax return for the taxpayer. They don't give the taxpayer any deductions other than the standard deduction. That includes business deductions, so no business deductions either. If you get a 1099, you're just being taxed on that gross 1099. They are going to assume, if the IRS believes that you were unmarried, they're going to give you single filing status. They won't give you head of household. If the IRS believes you are married, they're going to prepare this SFR under married filing separately filing status rather than married filing jointly. They're not going to give you any credits for your dependents or anything like that. So these are very harsh, almost like worst case scenario tax filings that the IRS will do for you. Now, I will say, if you're a W-2 employee and the only thing on your tax return is a W-2, the IRS is going to give you credit for your withholding on that return, right? And if you're single and you don't have any dependents and you take the standard deduction, well, the IRS SFR return will probably be pretty close to the return you would prepare yourself anyway, right? Now, the problem with not filing if you're a W-2 employee who gets sufficiently withheld is very often W-2 employees actually get money back after they file their tax returns because the way the payroll calculations work, maybe a little bit more extra is taken out of your paycheck, but it really depends what you put on your W-4 with your employer. And there's a 3-year time limit on getting a refund, right? So if you'd be owed a refund from the IRS and you have this mindset of, oh, I'm not going to file a return, you have 3 years from the original due date of the return to file that return and get a refund. If you did file an extension for the year, you have 3 years from the extended due date. Okay, so loss of refund is an issue here. Private Citizen, it doesn't sound like you really care about maybe the IRS collecting more tax from you than it should. You say, I just always pay extra. It sounds like you may be a W-2 employee. I'm not sure. In which case, yeah, I mean, you're probably sufficiently withheld and the IRS isn't really going to go after you. You may even be owed a refund, right? And that's why they're not really going after you. Probably will never file again unless it affects my Social Security in a decade when I retire. So if you are W-2, you still get the Social Security credits even if you don't file your income tax return. Okay, if you're self-employed, it's different. That's not the story with self-employed, but for W-2, that is the case. So Private Citizen, I would say, I mean, in my opinion, there's kind of a mix of truth and maybe things that kind of be misleading at first glance in your statements. The IRS will let you file again, even if you didn't file for a year. And, and frankly, it's generally not in someone's best interest to let the IRS file for them, right? They will generally save money by filing themselves rather than being subjected to the IRS SFR substitute for return process and methodology for calculating the liability. Okay, and yes, once the IRS prepares that SFR, the liability based on the SFR gets assessed in the government's books, and then it can take forced collection activity against you. Okay. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have unfiled tax returns, anything like that, reach out to us at Choice Tax Relief. It's one of our specialties. We get you in compliance. We figure out what years it would make sense for you to file. We discreetly get you back in compliance with your tax filing obligations, and then we'll get you into a resolution for that tax debt that's resulting, if there is a tax debt. Some folks come to us, especially if they're W-2, they haven't filed in multiple years. Hey, they're getting some refunds back. They don't have a balance, but it's really case by case, and it depends. If you'd like to reach out to us at Choice Tax Relief, give us a call, 866-8000-TAX. That's 866-8000-829. Or visit us at choicetaxrelief.com and fill out that form on the website. I also have some other videos here on the left-hand side of the screen about what to do if you have unfiled tax returns. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.